It's that wonderful time of the year again. No, not the holidays. The time of year where rock fans crawl out and say, ding, ding, ding.
Rock is dead and it's gonna be dead forever.
Hey neighbor, welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John, and Billboard just released their top 200 albums of the year, something that they've done every year since they started tracking the Nielsen Soundscan sales, and obviously now streaming and radio, everything else that's factored in, primarily to singles, but albums as well. They started tracking this the year I was born, 1991, so it's been 30 years, and for the first time ever, there's not a single new rock album in the Billboard 200 year-end list. This has sent the diehards into a tizzy fit, I can't lie. It's been a little bit funny to see how some people are reacting to this, because by all means of me judging things, just looking at it from a pure rock and how did it fare this year, I think it had a pretty strong year, and obviously sales and streaming are not always representative of that. We should all know by now that this is a popularity contest. It's like the Grammys, it's like the AMAs, it's like all of these award shows that don't really matter. It's the most famous people giving each other high fives, and the general public has started to care less and less about this, and I'm hoping that we can too as rock fanatics. Looking through the actual year-end chart that Billboard put out, the Billboard 200 albums of 2021, obviously this doesn't just refer to new stuff. There's a lot of catalog archives, and maybe that'll change at some point the way that they factor those things in, because obviously things like Nirvana's Nevermind and all of these other old albums by like Fleetwood Mac and AC/DC are still charting, still landing on the year-end lists, and things like that are blocking out potentially new things that could crop up and make their way in. But I get the way they do it. They're trying to give the most accurate representation to what the 200 most consumed albums of the year were, and a lot of times people fall back on their favorites rather than discovering new stuff. Obviously there are a ton of new albums here, and the number one album of the year was Morgan Wallen. I bet they don't feel super proud of that one coming in at number one. They probably couldn't really flex and say, oh, congratulations, because I think we all remember the controversy, right? It's about what you'd expect. I mean, I'm scrolling through and I see a lot of names that I don't really care about, some awesome stuff. I mean, like Future Nostalgia, for it to be in the top 10 still, that album came out almost 2 years ago. So much of it is very, very predictable, and the further you scroll down, the more you realize, oh, there's Fleetwood Mac, and then you've got Creedence Clearwater Revival, and then you've got older stuff by the likes of AC/DC, old Post Malone, Michael Jackson, exactly what you'd expect. I scrolled through the entire list, and I really did not see anything to me that would be indicative of a rock album that actually came out in the year 2021. We had a couple of close calls. I mean, like Plastic Hearts by Miley Cyrus, that came out in December of 2020, and some people, like myself, do count that towards the next year, but for Billboard's sake, they don't. Look, I get it. It can feel scary as somebody who loves rock, alternative, indie music to not see representation for what you love the most and what you listen to the most. But I still feel that rock and guitar-driven music is headed in a good direction, and it's not always represented by what the mainstream is doing, and a lot of people are incorporating guitars into their songs. I mean, obviously Olivia Rodrigo had a few songs on her album Sour that could be considered rock, and people are starting to blend it in. But I will say, like last year, for example, we only had 2 albums that were rock, like Ordinary Man by Ozzy Osbourne and Machine Gun Kelly's Tickets to My Downfall. I mean, with that being the only newer artist that actually made the list, can we say that MGK killed rock? I'm kidding, obviously, to each their own. I'm just saying that it's not a new thing, that new rock albums aren't making it onto the Billboard 200. This just happens to be the first year that not a single new one has cracked the top 200. In recent years, it's been like 1 or 2 per year. I just listed the ones for 2020. You had like the Foo Fighters, you had Tool in recent years, but they were pretty much standing alone in terms of the most consumed rock album of the entire year that made the top 200. Rock artists and smaller bands are never going to be able to compete with the streaming numbers that are pretty much built in for these huge pop artists and rappers, so it's easy to get stuck on that, and I can see why it's disappointing to a lot of people. people. All in all, I'm very happy with this year in music. I think it was a good one, especially for guitar and rock music. There were so many records and singles that just really felt like they were doing creative things and making some bangers, some more intimate stuff. There was a wide spectrum to it. So again, please just don't attach your happiness to what the charts are saying. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking, because I'm falling on the side of just not really caring, but if you're feeling super disappointed by the lack of representation, then let me know why. Please hit the like button while you're down there, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out a couple of recent videos that are on screen now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll be back soon with more on Beyond ARTV.